Story we were tracking about Bajaj Auto launching the first ever CNG powered bike, and the overarching theme, of course, that we have is demand for CNG vehicles has gone up substantially, especially in the passenger vehicle space, where we've seen, companies like Maruti talk about a 30% growth that they see in CNG vehicle demand in FY25. But that's the absolutely stunning new Freedom bike by Bajaj, which is the first ever CNG bike. But Sirish Chandran, the editor at Evo India Magazine, joins in. Sirish, always great speaking with you, and thank you for joining us. I know you must have covered this end to end on, how the bike looks, the pricing and all of that. But first, before I get down to the specifics, overall, do you see this whole CNG demand picking up? I mean, there is a huge price differential if you look at it, right, between CNG vehicles and petrol vehicles, for example, in the passenger vehicle space. Do you think that's enough for demand to pick up substantially going forward?
Definitely. I see demand definitely picking up because look at the saving that you have in terms of your running cost, and also in terms of the driving. We've experienced a lot of CNG powered cars. And in terms of driving, there isn't much difference anymore. It's not like you're losing much in terms of power or torque. So to drive, it drives as well as your regular petrol cars. In fact, right now, the team and I, we are actually testing the Freedom, the CNG motorcycle. And to be honest, you can't make out the difference whether it's running on CNG or on petrol. And so considering the offering, I think it is a masterstroke. It hasn't been done before. So we'll have to reserve our final opinions and verdict. But I think what Bajaj have done in terms of making a bike that is very good in terms of running costs and not compromising on the other features that people want from motorcycles, I think it's a masterstroke.
Absolutely. I mean, and Rajiv Bajaj has sort of hit the sweet spot, right? Good fuel efficiency and low cost running. I think that's what the Indian commuter wants. But is it enough to penetrate and to grow in the commuter two-wheeler segment, you think?
Yeah, so what buyers are looking for is something different. And this is a unique offering. You have a lot of 100cc, 110, 125, all that segments are saturated. So buyers now are going for the tried and tested. They're not experimenting with anything new. But here, this is a path-breaking motorcycle. Something of this kind hasn't been done before, but the Bajaj brand has the equity for people to take the jump, because look at this, in this segment, people don't want to take a risk. They don't want to go wrong, because if this bike does not perform, that will really hit their wallets. But the Bajaj brand is strong enough for people to make that jump, to jump the fence and take that chance, considering how much they're going to save eventually in terms of running costs. And here, every rupee counts. Every penny that is saved makes a difference. And that's why, if you look at this, it's got only a 2-liter petrol tank. And when during the launch, we asked that why only a 2-liter tank. But if you notice, in the villages, in the smaller towns, people only fill 100 rupees worth of petrol. They fill 1 liter, and that is it. And that 1 liter is supposed to last them 3, 4, 5 days.
Okay. So, this is on the Bajaj bike, right? But overall, I wanted to understand for the industry, what are you penciling in, when you speak to people around? Because I was looking at the data. In the first half of 2024, CNG vehicles overall saw a 33% growth. I mean, there was over 550,000 units sold. Do you think that this is a growth that can sustain? And, which are the companies that are sort of up front and center in the CNG race now?
So see, Maruti, obviously, they were one of the first movers. Tata Motors is betting very strongly on CNG. And today, if you travel anywhere, you will find CNG stations. The big challenge for CNG adoptions is the infrastructure. In our cities, I don't think we are still enough. The number of pumps is not adequate to meet the demand. So you see these long lines outside pumps. And of course, all the Ubers, Olas, all the cabs run on CNG, more or less. So you do find that, filling it up is not as simple as filling up a liter of petrol in your car, but that is moving. And if you see the government's efforts also in terms of expanding the CNG infrastructure, if that really takes place in the way that the government has been talking, that should be great for more CNG adoption. Today, everybody wants to save money. And like with what Tata Motors is doing with their iCNG, where you don't lose too much of boot space. Otherwise, you have that big fat tank in the boot, and then you don't have a boot at all. Whereas all the Tata CNG cars, they have two smaller tanks which are in the floor of the boot. So you do have a boot space left over. So people now don't need to compromise when they buy a CNG car. In fact, the only thing that you are now compromising on a CNG car is that there is no automatic CNG as of now. That is the final frontier. Otherwise, with the Tata cars, you have all of the equipment, everything is there on the car. So you get a fully loaded car which runs on CNG, which saves you a fair bit in terms of running cost.
Absolutely, and in a price-sensitive market like India, it's no surprises that the CNG vehicles have picked up in a big way, right? I mean, just to put it into perspective, CNG costs what, about 78 rupees per kg, while petrol is at 96 rupees a litre, diesel is at 92 rupees a litre. So huge price differential currently. And of course, as you said, a lot of issues like safety, etc., are being ironed out completely. So thanks a lot, Shirish. Yeah, go ahead.
Just one thing,
so
Shirish, do you think... Yeah,
Sorry,
safely sorted. Do you think this will be the lone offering for a while, or should we expect models from other CNG bikes from other auto companies?
See, market intelligence, everybody knows what Bajaj has been doing for quite some time. So I'm sure all other manufacturers have already worked out platforms in terms of their R&D. So all the bikes are ready. They are going to be waiting to watch what the initial response is to motorcycle. And also, nobody wants to look like they've just jumped in immediately after Bajaj. So they will all take a breather. They will let that initial enthusiasm peter off, and then they will jump into the fray. And you're looking at 6 months, once the market stabilizes, once people know what sort of actual reaction is, because at the start, everything sells well. There is always good demand at the start. It's after 3 months, 6 months that then the demand starts to flatten. Then you know what the true sense of the market is in terms of adoption of a CNG motorcycle. And that's when others will press the button. But I'm sure everybody has already done their R&D. They already have their bikes ready. And it's just a matter of going with it.
All right, and we'll have you back, Shirish, to talk about some of those launches as when they happen. Appreciate you joining in, and thank you very much for being here on CNBC TV 18. It's time.